And I now look to Richard Burgon to conclude the case for the proposition.
Thank you. I know it's traditional to start these speeches with a joke. I won't. Instead, I'll start with some words by somebody very important. A government driven not by the interests of the privileged few, but by yours. We will do everything we can to give you more control over your lives. When we take the big calls, we'll think not of the powerful, but of you. When we pass new laws, we'll listen not to the mighty, but to you. When it comes to taxes, we'll prioritise not the wealthy, but you. When it comes to opportunity, we won't entrench the advantages of the fortunate few. We will do everything we can to help anybody, whatever your background, to go as far as your talents will take you. That was Theresa May outside the steps of 10 Downing Street when she became Prime Minister. Who can have confidence that this government has achieved those aims? Who can have confidence that the government even believes in those aims? The true face of our country is what I want to talk about. Crossgates Library, the Bangladeshi Centre, Corpus Christi Working Men's Club, the Compton Centre, local supermarkets. These are places very far from Parliament, very far even from the hall we're in tonight, but these are the places in my constituency, in East Leeds, where I hold my advice sessions for constituents week in, week out. Let me just tell you some recent things that have happened at those advice sessions for local residents. A man came to see me in his 60s the other week with his wife. He's worked all his life until he had a stroke a few months ago and had to stop working. He broke down in tears in front of his wife as he told me how his personal independence payments had been denied to him in such an inhumane way. He was ashamed about crying in front of me. He had no reason to be ashamed. The people who should be ashamed at his situation are sitting in opposite me. A woman recently came to see me, depressed, struggling to get by, struggling with life in general. Her benefits had been cut. She showed me a form where a loan company had charged her 583% to give her the money to pay her gas and electric bill. She also showed me on her wrist the fresh scar from where she'd attempted to commit suicide the week before. That's the reality in our country, away from the high-flown rhetoric. Or an asylum seeker that came to see me the other year, who came to see me, he told me, hours after he'd tried to set himself alight in front of the Home Office in Leeds because he'd felt he'd been left in limbo by our immigration system. And what about the people who come to see me week in, week out, in overcrowded homes, who can't get a council house, and for whom private rent or a mortgage is just an absolute pipe dream? In this debate, I want to ask all of you, when you consider this motion, to put yourself in the shoes of those people. Walk around in their shoes and think, what do they think about the question, do you have confidence in this government? The Prime Minister's words that I quoted should be etched upon the political tombstone of this Conservative government as an ironic epitaph for a political enterprise based upon a lie. And Nyron Bevan, a great person, said that the art of Conservative politics in the 20th century is the art of persuading the majority to vote in the interests of the privileged minority. As in the 20th century, so in the 21st century. There's one thing I'm confident in this government about. I'm confident that they'll continue as a Conservative Party to fulfil their role as the political wing of the establishment, trying to dupe vast swathes of this country that we're on your side. On whose side? On the side of the black citizens that they deport? On the side of the migrant family that looks from behind the curtain through the window and sees a go-home van sent by Theresa May touring up and down the streets on their estate. On the side of the person dying from cancer who's told, don't worry, you're fit to work, and then dies a few days later. On the side of people who want to be nurses, but the bursary's gone. No, it's clear whose side this government are on. They're on the side of the super privileged 1%. And my experience as a constituency MP is evidence to me of the fact that we tonight should vote no confidence in this government. My experience, similarly, as Shadow Secretary of State for Justice, informs me in this opinion too. The party that boasts it's the party of law and order has created chaos in our prisons. The party that boasts of being full of lawyers has presided over attacks on legal aid, which has left working class communities in all their diversity without the ability to stand up for their hard-won rights.
Point of information. Having imagined yourselves in their shoes and proclaimed yourself broadly on their side, how would the Labour Party actually solve this issue?
They chose me to be on their side because they elected me, and it's for them that I speak. And the Labour Party's policies for the many, not the few, are very well known. This government has also set about the Americanisation of our justice system. The Americanisation of our justice system. And the American justice system, of course, is a justice system that the world has no confidence in. And the Prime Minister is now saying... The Prime Minister wrote a first-class piece of fiction in The Observer recently, desperate to reach out to people who in greater numbers are turning to Labour. She pretended austerity is over. The Conservative Chancellor admitted at their conference that Labour is posing the right questions. That's an admission of failure because this country is in crisis. In crisis in relation to our economy, in crisis in relation to people's life chances, in crisis, as we've heard, in relation to bungled Brexit negotiations, and in crisis in relation to what our country will become in the future. And it was Oxford's very own Professor Dorling who said that the UK is now the European country with more similarity to the USA than any other when it comes to income inequality. That should shame us all and should shame this government. The UK economy, and I'm sorry to bring statistics and facts and the real world into the debate, I know that it might offend the last speaker, but the UK economy will grow at a slower pace than any other major advanced or emerging nation this year, and wages are growing or not growing at the worst rate since Napoleonic times. Surely, in conclusion, we can do better than this. Surely the people in our society deserve to expect better than this. But the truth is, when all the dancing is done, when all the painful, strained smiles are wiped from the faces of these politicians, the majority of people in this country are being held back. The majority of people in this country are having to do with an NHS that we were proud to create, that the Tories were proud to oppose creating in the first place, that's been stripped back to the bone. It's on this majority of people who are feeling it in their pockets, who are feeling it in their restricted opportunities.
On a point of
information. It's on those majority of people that I want to speak tonight.
On a point of information.
Go ahead.
On the NHS, this year we celebrated its 70th anniversary. For 43 of those 70 years, the NHS has been run by Conservative governments. If Conservative governments were so much against the NHS, why is it the jewel in our national crown?
I'll say this, and I make no bones about it. The NHS is the proudest achievement in Britain's peacetime history, and it's the Labour Party's proudest achievement. And it is an example of socialism put into practice. So for those who say socialism doesn't work, I say look at the establishment of our NHS. And I was amazed when I looked across the House of Commons chamber and saw Sam and all the rest of his colleagues wearing these NHS happy 70th birthday badges. I think it's rather strange to celebrate the 70th anniversary of a relation that you tried to stop from being born in the first place. It's rather strange, isn't it? I want to speak, and I hope you'll consider, on those who don't get to speak in Parliament, or don't get to speak in Parliament in sufficient number. I hope you'll think tonight when you vote of all those people who don't get to get dressed up and come to this fantastic debate tonight. I want to speak on their behalf, and I'll end with this. I have confidence in the people in our country. I have no confidence in this rotten, despicable government. And all I'll say is this, that Sam, Brandon and the rest of them better get used to sitting on the opposition side.